I haven't got a problem with if you want. Christ. What's up, guys? We are live. It is Sunday night. It is Scream 6 Postmortem. Although this is going to be as much of an in-depth discussion about the movie as maybe what I did for Scream 5. Maybe it will go on to be something like that. I don't know. I just bullet points for this movie after watching it. Don't seem to remember making as many bullet points for this movie as what I did for Scream 5. I just felt like I had more to talk about with Scream 5. So going forward with this review, well, it's not a review, and it's more just like a discussion. I know there's a couple of people in the chat. I know I probably couldn't have chosen a worse time to do a live stream regarding it's Oscars night. I know the Flesh Wound guys are doing like a live reaction to Oscars at the minute as well. So I didn't realize at the time when I scheduled this, but I thought, I was going to reschedule. I thought, oh, fuck it, I'll just carry on going. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of the film's fresh in my head. And if I reschedule for tomorrow, I probably would have lost the urge to talk about this film, which makes it sound like I've got a real big downer on this movie. It's not really the case. I don't think this film's by any means perfect. I don't think this film is by any means one of the best of the franchise, but it is a Scream movie. So, I've still got a lot to talk about, and I am a big Scream fan. It is one of my sort of franchises that I do really. I mean, unlike somebody like I know JT hates Scream and everything to do with it, but it is a franchise I am fond of. I mean, I think Scream 1 and Scream 2 are like two of the best. Well, Scream 1 is the greatest slasher movie of the 1990s, hands down. I don't think there's any competition for that. Love Scream 2 as well. Scream 3. Oh, what's up? Got Ricky in the chat. What's up, man? Yeah, cheers, man. Appreciate it. We'll have to get a stream going. At some point, we're going to have to do a stream. Scream 1 for me obviously is one of the greatest slasher movies of all time, in my opinion. I love Scream 2 as well. Scream 3 it's not great. It's not. Let's be honest. Scream 3 is many people's least favorite movie in that franchise. In this franchise, Scream 4, I kind of return to form in a way. I certainly don't think it's on par with the first two, but very, very brutal as well. They upped the gore for Scream 4 over the first three movies, which I really liked. Scream 5, again, 4 and 5, I do really, really need to rewatch. I'm kind of not quite sure where. What's up, Jay? What's up, man? Regards when it comes to my ranking of the Scream movies, it's without giving anything away about 6, sorry, just yet. I think like with most people, for me, it's one is like head and shoulders above the rest. Then 2, then it's a toss up between 4 and 5. I need to rewatch 4 again because I haven't seen 4 for like a good 6-7 years. I do need to watch it again to know whether I would place that above 5. I seem to remember when I watched 5 for the first. Well, I've only watched 5 once because it only came out last year. But for me, it seemed to be on par with 4. But again, if I rewatch 4, my opinion will probably be changed by that. But I like 4 and 5 more than 3. I will just say that. I mean, I think most people would put 3, right at the bottom of the list. But it brings us on to Scream 6. Obviously, Scream 6 obviously only came out on Friday. I watched it tonight. Empty cinema. But there must have been like 10 people in there. Now I only watched it like 5:10 showing, so I didn't expect it to be busy. But based on this, I do wonder sometimes how cinemas are surviving. It's like, this is a movie that it's a Sunday. What's it? J's is 1, 2, 5, 4, 3. So you're not seen 6 yet, then, Jay? I'm assuming. That sounds pretty. I mean, that's pretty much identical to mine so far, without including 6, because 6 I only watched today, so I can't really. I'll probably do a ranking later on in the video, but I mean, for me, it's definitely 1, then 2, 3 is worst of these 5 movies anyway, and then it's either 4 then 3 then it's either 5 then 4 or 4 then 5. Yeah, it's hard to like sort of like. I do need to rewatch 4 really to give an honest opinion, but empty cinema. Opening weekend was early, but coming out of the cinema at like 7:30, cinema's still empty. I mean, I'm sure would have been another showing for Scream around about that time. There was another showing at 9:00, but on a Sunday, people off work, you'd think it'd be a little bit busier, but no. I mean, I like I say, I don't know how cinemas are surviving. Really, I can only, especially in the UK with the amount of like with heating bills and electricity bills and not just everything that goes with running a cinema, it does makes me wonder how they cope. I mean, you walk into a small convenience store or a small like supermarket, which is a lot more self-contained than a cinema, and their heating bills and energy bills are a lot smaller than a cinema. But obviously, they've constantly got people going through the tills buying, food, drink, everything. You go to a cinema, okay, the average spend is higher, but if barely anybody's going through the till, and let's face it, the concessions, a lot of people. I didn't buy any food and drink when I went in. I had something to eat before I went out. It's a 2-hour movie. I can easily sit through a 2-hour movie without any food and drink. So they didn't make any money off me on that in that respect. Um, so yeah, you do wonder for the future of cinema with streaming and piracy as well. But they're still holding on somehow. But anyway, yeah, getting into Scream 6. So let's just jump into it because um, I don't really want to drag this out. I mean, I don't say I don't want to drag it out too long, but again, it's a film that I've got some bullet points to talk about. What again, surprisingly less than what I thought. I think compared to Scream 5, I lose track of them. It's Scream. This is Scream 6. I keep thinking this is Scream. I keep thinking of Scream 5 as Scream 4 because I keep forgetting about Scream 4 even happened. Not that I forgot that it happened, but there's just so many, and because this is dropped on top of Scream 5, which was only last year, and then obviously we're going to get Scream 7 next year. Apparently, it's just like, so is this going to be like the Jenna Ortega trilogy? Is it? Yeah, but anyway, getting into the movie. So the opening 5-10 minutes, which is the famous opening scene, which they always open on, where they take a random person, kill them off to introduce the film and introduce a new killer. So obviously they kind of do a 180 with this. That they just give us some sort of like college professor who looks about 25, who is lured into a dark New York alleyway, and is killed off immediately. And you think, oh, this is the introductions of the Ghostface, and they do kind of subvert those expectations by the killer immediately rips his mask off. We see his face and we think, well, clearly this guy is not the real Ghostface. My initial reaction was this was some sort of setup and she was just shooting a movie or a TV show and it was just just prosthetics. But no, I mean, she's actually murdered. So then it cuts, obviously, but the spoilers, by the way, there's going to be spoilers to this, obviously, but obviously then we cut to the murderer going back to his apartment, and this is basically a setup for him and another guy who are basically copying the murders from Woodsboro and everyone that's gone before. They're obviously massive fans of the whole saga, the stab movies, the whole Woodsboro murders. But basically it's to a setup of basically this guy gets killed along with his partner in crime. There's two of them, obviously, which introduces us to the real Ghostface. The initial setup for this movie, the opening 10 minutes, just dog shit compared to like what's gone before. I mean, nothing's gonna match the original movie in terms of like that setup. 2 does it a decent. I mean, does a decent job. I think 2 is probably the second best setup. 3, I barely remember. 4 was comically funny. It was so over the top and ridiculous that it was quite enjoyable. This does nothing. This opening setup is really, really poor, in my opinion. It does nothing to build up the suspense. I mean, I don't expect a repeat of the Drew Barrymore opening 10 minutes. You're never going to get that. But this was just lame in every way. But it is what it is. I mean, at this point in time, I'm not expecting I'm not expecting to reinvent the wheel with this franchise, but it would be nice if they like at least attempted to. So obviously Sam and Tara have relocated to New York City. I think Tara is in college and Sam's basically stalking her because obviously she's got PTSD from the events of the 12 months before, which is shown by trips to the psychiatrist. But Chad and Mindy return, which, yeah, so they brought like back four of the characters. Now, this is something that we'll probably go into a little bit further down the line, but bringing Chad and Mindy back was, I think it was a mistake not killing off at least one of them in the last film. I think keeping both of them was a mistake. And I think it's a problem with this film as well. I just think too many people survive in this film. There don't really seem to be many stakes, which kind of goes against what Mindy says in her little dialogue, further down the line. I mean, I will say the fake killer plot was at least something new. That's something that I didn't see coming, because when in the opening 10 minutes, when the opening girl as opposed to the final girl is Lord of the Alleyway, I honestly did think that was going to be Ghostface. I just thought, this is what they do. They bring him in the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, butcher someone, and then so that was something new. That was something different, quite entertaining. I was kind of thinking, where are they going to go with this? But yeah, I mean, it didn't take me long to realize. Yeah, I mean, it does feel like with doing that, they really are now sort of trying to think. I think they're running out of ideas now. They're running out of ways to surprise the audience, so they're kind of resorting to like just anything anything new now. What could we possibly do to subvert the expectations of the audience? And so I think we kind of like after the kill, the way it lingered for slightly longer than I was expecting, I thought, yeah, it's going to pull away and he's going to take the mask off. I kind of saw that coming. Because once if this would be a traditional Scream movie like the original couple of films, once that kill had happened, it would have just gone cut to the credits, and it would have been introducing the next movie. But it kind of lingered too long, and then it just focused on Ghostface for too long, and I thought, yeah, he's going to take the mask off, and it's going to be some random guy who's just copying Ghostface basically. But it is what it is. So what have I got? If the first attack, yes, sorry. So I've made a few bullet points. I'm trying to keep up with what they relate to. But yeah, the first attack in the convenience store. Yeah, I mean, here's where it's a slasher movie. We suspend disbelief, but the great thing about the original Scream movies, with the small settings, like it's college campus or it's a small town like Woodsboro, you can believe that somebody can go around, cause some mayhem, and potentially there's going to be a slight delay before the police arrive or before there's any witnesses to anything going on. This is like New York City. This is like, like 9-10 million people in a built-up area in a convenience store in like Manhattan, wherever it is. And Ghostface goes in there and just like stabs somebody in the fucking neck, and then proceeds to shoot. Pull a shotgun out and like shoot people. Shotguns. People get them. A lot of people exit the grocery store. They're immediately going to be screaming, alerting people. There's going to be a 911 call coming in. But Ghostface just can casually walk around this convenience store for the best part of 5 minutes, while he attempts to take down, Sam and Sarah. I'm sorry, I forgot the names for a minute. Yeah, I mean, that does suspend disbelief to the extreme a little bit. I mean, come on. I mean, this is New York City. It's New York, new rules. Some rules seem to apply to the old films though, where you can just like wander around and consequences are zero. Hey, come on, man. This is New York. I mean, you'd have the police on you in a heartbeat. If not, there would be the amount of like hoo-ha that this would cause. Somebody getting murdered in the middle of. Come on, man. Is my chat delayed, or has everybody just commented it in one go? Because all of a sudden the chat is just. So okay, so sorry if I've ignored the chat. It just wasn't showing up. So Jay's commented, Sean's commented, Andy's commented, Franz has commented. I had no idea. So if I've not ignored you intentionally. It did not show up. So Jay says it's pretty bad for them. They only get a couple of films here that people can actually want to watch. Although they make markup on each bag of Maltesers because of the gospel. Screen fix, no, thank you. Have a good stream, mate. I have to jump out because I've not seen it yet. Okay, man, don't worry about it, Anthony. Fran says, notice how to be two random ball white guys that got stabbed. Yes. Yeah. That will be. I will briefly touch on that aspect of the movie a little bit further down the line. That did not go unnoticed. Yeah, Kirby's return in the police station. Now, Kirby's return just feels shoehorned into me. I don't think it was really warranted. I think it was a play for the fans. You know, the fans wanted Kirby back, but really, what was the point? She didn't really do much. I mean, spoiler alert. As I say, it's all spoilers now, but it felt very much like Gail's return. Gail returns because it's Gail. You know, it's like she doesn't at this point. These legacy characters, which are obviously Gail is the only legacy character left. Kirby's not really a legacy character. She's only been in one movie before this, but yeah, Gail's return is just completely forced in for no good reason. She doesn't really do a lot. Kirby, the same. It's like, you know, she doesn't really offer much to the whole situation, and it does feel shoehorned in. So yeah, Kirby's return. I could have done without that. Really, it just felt completely pointless. But it's nice to see her back. But I mean, come on. I mean, if you're going to bring a character back from a film from 10 years ago, give them something to do. Give them a little bit more to do what they did. The whole FBI. She's an FBI agent now. Just like what? Really? That just felt so. The least likely FBI agents. I mean, she just did not come across like somebody who worked for the FBI in any way. Okay, so we are definitely getting into spoilers now. It's the killing of Quinn and Anika. Now, obviously, the killing of Anika, fair enough. You know, that was fairly suspenseful. It was a fairly, you know, the setup for the whole scene was quite nicely done. You know, you got opposing apartments. You've got the guy who name completely escapes me, who is banging Sam. That's what I say. Shirtless guy who's banging Sam. He's in an opposite apartment. They're having dinner, you know, and then he sees Quinn about to get attacked by Ghostface. Quinn is the daughter of the police officer in charge of the investigation. They ignore his phone call. Shit goes down. Quinn gets attacked by Ghostface. Quinn subsequently gets murdered by Ghostface, although nobody really checks to see that she's actually dead. They all run out of the room into another room. They escape across, from a ladder, because, you know, New York, it's apartments between buildings. A ladder's placed between the two apartments, and they escape across a ladder. But Quinn is murdered, apparently by Ghostface. Now, okay, spoiler alert, Quinn doesn't die. Quinn is a roommate of, you know, Sam and Tara and Chad and Mindy. Okay, she's in on it. She's in on the whole thing. She is one of the killers, which I think a lot of people might have seen coming. I just think that one was quite on the nose. But the way they set it up, where it's like they kind of make it obvious, because when she gets thrown out, they don't even check to see if she's dead. With everybody else, it's like, they get stabbed. They're trying to rescue them. Quinn gets stabbed, thrown in front of them, and they just fucking leave her for dead. They don't give a shit about this girl, and you never see any mention of her again, apart from obviously her father, who's the police chief, mentions that she died. I'm like, come on. The fact that they didn't give her any sort of finality in death says everything you need to know. Yeah, it's up, Jamie. Nice to see you on board. Yes, Quinn was the best part of the fucking film. Quinn was fucking psychopathic in the extreme. She was great, and especially in the end sequence, she was the best part about it. And I really liked her in the build up before we knew who she was. Yeah, and a Quinns Death was rushed past quickly, and that's alarm bells. When you watch the movie, and I will be honest, I was watching Gareth's channel a couple of weeks back, and somebody did a comment quickly popped up, and I saw something about and I quickly turned off, but I saw something relating to police chief, and that was enough for me. What's up? We got Kerry in the chat. What's up, Kerry? And as soon as I saw that comment, I knew. I thought, although I don't know the name, when I go into the movie, I'm going to know that the guy's the killer. So, yes. Yeah, another spoiler alert. So, Quinn's father, who is the police chief investigating all the murders leading up to this so far, he is another killer, or he's involved with the killers. Yeah, and so and so maybe that's why, knowing that Quinn was his daughter, maybe that was one of the reasons I did suspect. But honestly, I think even without knowing that information, the way they just cut away from her getting thrown onto the floor, and the way they just left her dead and didn't even check on her, that is pretty much a red flag when it comes to Scream. You're thinking, there's something not right with that one. So yeah, the whole thing, they didn't plan that very well. I think they should have gone about it a different way, because seriously, a lot of people within the first 30 minutes would have been thinking that girl's not dead. And once they know about her relationships, I mean, it's no secret that her father is the police chief. People are going to be putting two and two together. So where are we up to now? Yeah, so the treatment of Courtney Cox, which I briefly mentioned before, you bring these legacy characters back. Neve Campbell obviously has decided that she's too good for the Scream franchise. God only knows what Neve Campbell's doing now. I mean, if she obviously thought you're not paying me enough money. Well, where are you going for this money, love? Where are you going? Because you have not been you've never really been a big deal in the movies, period. Scream made you. Scream kept you famous. I mean, really, what else have you done? So to get all sorts of well, I'm too good for Scream now, into the sixth movie is just, I mean, if you don't want to do it, you don't do it. But to come out and say, well, they weren't paying me enough money. I mean, Courtney Cox is a bigger star than Neve Campbell, and she came back. But yeah, Gail, going off topic, but yeah, Gail's Weathers was the way she was treated this movie is she doesn't die, which is, however you look at it, is a good thing or it's a bad thing. Because for me, it would have been, you either kill her off or you keep her strong, and he did neither. She's attacked by Ghostface, brutally wounded, goes to hospital, and you never see her again. You don't see her. She's just gone from the movie. She's mentioned at the very end, oh, we're going to go and visit Gail in hospital. So she doesn't have a badass ending to the, if this is the final film, I don't know if she's going to appear in 7, but she doesn't have like that badass sort of like, ending where she like, like kills one of them, or it just is involved. She's just she's just there. She gets attacked. She gets stabbed, and then she goes to hospital, and you don't see it again. It's just such a like a lame ending for like an iconic character of the franchise. It just doesn't make any sense. The whole setup as well. It's like, I know we talk about the unrealistic levels of Scream with like Dewey getting bumped off by like a 5'2" 100-pound girl. It's similar to with this movie. It's you've got Courtney Cox is like dating some like 6'4" 240-pound bodybuilder who is easily disposed of by one of the 2 killers. Well, there's 3 people involved. Obviously, you've got the police chief, you've got his daughter, Quinn, but then you've got his other son, Ethan. Sorry, final spoiler alert. The other killer is Ethan, who's like the nerdy virgin kid, who's like another roommate of like the main 4 characters. This kid like is like what? Okay, he's fairly tall, but he's like what, 140 pounds, soaking wet. We're supposed to believe that this little gimpy little shit could have taken out like a fucking huge bodybuilder, like guys like 6'4". Fuck off. That guy who was with Courtney Cox would have snapped him in 2 and like just turned him into chopsticks. It's just ridiculous. But I know we suspend disbelief when it comes to Ghostface. I mean, we really do. I mean, come on, man. That guy, I don't care what that, unless he's packing a gun, that guy would have fucking destroyed him with ease. So yeah, that was another like little quibble with this film. But okay, going into okay, so okay, we got the Central Park scene, which was kind of meant to. I get I thought they were trying to set up a kind of Scream to Randy Death in this, where they mention Randy, their uncle Randy. Chad and Mindy mentioned obviously Uncle Randy, who's like murdered in broad daylight, and I thought, are they going to go with a whole Randy type kill in the middle of Central Park, which they don't. But one of the things that like struck me about this film as well is like seeing Central Park get that NYC feel to it, but for the most part, this didn't really feel like a New York movie. I was like, so much emphasis was placed on the fact that it's meant to be set in New York, and obviously they do the subway, they do Central Park, but it just feels to me that like this film felt less of a New York movie than Jason Takes Manhattan, and like 90% of Jason Takes Manhattan takes place on a boat, and the other 10% or the other 8% takes place in Vancouver, and only 2% takes place in New York. But for some reason, Jason Takes Manhattan still feels more like a New York movie than this does, which doesn't really make any sense. I just don't feel like they took advantage of it being a New York movie enough. This could have been set anywhere. Okay, they did a subway scene and they did a Central Park scene, but you could have done that in any city. Give us Times Square or something. I just don't know. It's just, maybe they didn't have the budget. I don't know. But okay, subway scene. Yeah, let's quickly go back in the chat again. Anyway, sorry, let's just go back in the chat. Oh, we got Dr. Impossible in the chat. What's up, man? Scary movie was fun. That made me laugh. The Scream fans, that made me strain, but not in a good way. The scary movie, the first couple of scary movie movies, I just, they are gold. I do love the first few. Franz, she was at a call. She was calling it. She stepped right back into that. Courtney Cox, I'm assuming we're talking about. She was always a bitchy character, but she seemed genuinely unpleasant in this. And my God, she's had some Botox. Courtney Cox is just Botox to hell now. I mean, it's just ridiculous. She just looks like every other actress of a certain age who's had plastic surgery. They all look the same. They all have the same look. It's like the stepwives of plastic surgery. They all just, yeah, it's just weird. I mean, why they do it to themselves, I just do not know. I mean, if it keeps you in movies, I suppose, but yeah, it's not a good look. It really isn't. Courtney Cox looks terrible now. I'll just gotta say. Um, the guy with the gammy hands came into was brilliant. Quinn said it was her at Gales, so how that happened? um, I never went beyond scary movie, but the first place still holds up. I mean, I think I've seen like, the first five. I don't know how many. Is it like six of them? I think I've seen like at least five of them. They must have after three. Are we talking spoilers? Yeah, we are talking spoilers, Carey. Yeah, definitely talking spoilers. Um, we got Franz Sanchez in the chat. What's up, Franz? Although actually, I did actually mention you before. I don't know why I'm saying what's up, Franz. Um, the nerdy virgin guys plays Colonel. I can't even pronounce that. Son in Avatar 2. I didn't realize until I looked up his IMDb profile. Um, yeah, yeah. If you want to spoil away. There have been so many of those people on YouTube. I don't think there's anyone who doesn't know what happens. I felt like there were a lot of alleyways often skyscrapers. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's always people talking spoilers. Yeah, definitely, definitely. So let's just So the subway scene is, I think, yeah. Jamie says I thought the subway scene looked great and had pretty good tension. I was like the grocery store scene a lot. The subway scene is the highlight of the movie for me, definitely. You know, the thing about the subway scene is it's totally believable. They try to stick together. You know, they're not breaking any of the rules of like which is set up in the first movie. You know, they stick together. But with it being New York and being such a built up area, but the subway being so busy, it's very easy to get separated from someone. So the whole Mindy, is it, getting separated from the rest of the group with Ethan is totally believable. So it's not like it's think how did that happen? Come on, it's totally believable. And when they jump to obviously the scene on the subway, the idea of like it being, I think is it meant to be the night before Halloween? Because I'm sure that the psychiatrist says, when someone knocks on the door, you're a day early. So I'm assuming it's meant to be October the 30th. But the whole setup with like everybody's in fancy dress on the train on the subway. Love that. You got Pinhead, you got Freddy Krueger, you got the twins from The Shining. You've got every imaginable, sort of villain, and then you've got like a few ghost faces there lurking about. And the way they kind of set it up, where the lights occasionally go out and it gets a little bit closer. Lights go out, gets a little bit closer, and then he just vanishes. That's a really good setup. And another thing I really like about it is like the fact that you would say maybe that like, well, how did Ghostface just like murder some or attempt to murder somebody in a subway in front of hundreds of people? We've all seen these videos on like TikTok and like Twitter, with like shit going on certainly in places like London, New York, in the big cities, London, New York, LA, wherever it is. This sort of stuff goes on where people just keep their head down and don't say anything, or they'll keep their head down and maybe film it. So the idea that Mindy can be just stabbed brutally on a subway in front of a bunch of people, but nobody notices is totally believable. Even nobody notices because on a subway, people just put their headphones in and go into their own little world, or they're too scared to say anything, or they just don't give a shit because it's the big city and they don't care, or they're so narcissistic and so obsessed with their own social media profile that they actually get a phone out and start filming it. So that whole like attempted kill, obviously she doesn't die. Spoiler alert again. Um, that made total sense. I think that was the best thing about the setup for that. The whole scene was done well. The whole idea, the way they worked, it was done well. It made total sense. It wasn't far fetched, which is actually funny because it's probably the most in a way, it's kind of like the most far fetched part of the film where she's attacked them in front of hundreds of people, but it isn't in another way. It's the most believable, you know. So that was really well done. Where we to now? Yeah. So okay, but moving into like the sort of final sort of like act of the movie now. You know, the whole setup in the movie theater or ex old movie theater where all the props are being stored. This bringing Billy back again like they did in Scream Five. You know, it's the CGI is so bad in this film regarding Billy, and it was bad in in five, sorry, as well. Just you know, I don't know what budget they got for this. I mean, the budget must have been fairly decent. I mean, I'm not expecting like Marvel level or Star Wars level of like money spent on de aging, but Skeet Ulrich looks like a 50-year-old man with Billy's 1996 haircut and t-shirt. So he's obviously meant to have been dead 27 years, but he's got the face of a middle-aged man. It just takes you out of it takes you out of it a little bit. Could they have not like spent a little bit more money and like attempting to de-age him, making him look like someone who was in the early 20s? That was just yeah, it was the same with Screen 5. It just looks really odd. Um, so the final reveal of Ethan and Quinn, and obviously the police chief, it was a little bit underwhelming. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it falls back. So they're basically the family of Richie from Scream Five. He was obviously killed by Sam. Now it's just another like revenge flick, isn't it? You know, it's just like they wanted to see him. He was obsessed with Scream. They wanted to see his dreams come true, and it's just. I thought I was expecting something a little bit more. That reveal at the end was like, oh, come on. That's it's that it's very reminiscent of like Scream 2 with Billy's mum. You know what I mean? It's just like it's a good old fashioned revenge story. But I thought there was going to be something a little bit more to it. Um, that yeah, the ending was a bit of a letdown for me. I mean, the motive, yeah, the motive sucked Jamie. It really did. Now, one thing I'm going to get into now, which is like a little bit controversial, but I do think it is worth bringing up because um, I do think Scream has kind of gone down the woke route a little bit. And people go, oh, I always going on about woke stuff, and oh, you always do it, Mike. Why do you always go about woke? I do think they set themselves up for a fall with Scream 5. Now, we were told, you know, like Mindy actually in a little monologue about anybody's a suspect, anybody's a potential victim. You know, there's anybody could die in this movie, and like nothing could be further from the truth. Like, who died of any consequence in this film? Nobody, nobody. It's like, and I take it back to the Scream 5 now. Chad and Mindy, if they'd been in Scream 1, they would have been killed, or at least one of them would have been killed without a shadow of a doubt. They wouldn't have both survived the film, and you know, I'm just gonna say it now. The reason they weren't killed in Scream 5 is because they're people of color. Because Hollywood is very, very reluctant to kill them off because of that for that reason. I'm just gonna say it. I don't care if it brings criticism. That is my opinion. They didn't kill them for that reason. Now, I haven't got a problem with Chad and Mindy surviving, but you make Mindy the final girl and you make Chad the final boy, and then you can kill off Sam and Tara in Scream 5, or you kill them off in this film. But you know, it's just it is what it is. It's like Chad and Mindy are not the final boy and final girl. They both survived, and they both survive again. And it just takes away any. Like, if they make Scream 7, you know that I very much doubt they would be they would die in that film again. Um, it's just a fact. It's a fact. Make Chad and Mindy the main characters, and then you can kill off Sam and Tara. You know, they're inconsequential. If you make them the final boy and the final girl, Sam and Tara become inconsequential and you kill them off. But the fact of the matter is, if Chad and Mindy had been in Scream 1 or Scream 2, they would have been killed off. Okay, sorry. Okay, Jamie, I apologize. Don't unsubscribe from me. I think it's pretty obvious though. It is. It's just It's a fact. They were scared to kill off Chad and Mindy in Scream 5, and they were scared to kill them off in this film. It's just a fact. They did not want to kill them off. At least kill off Gail. Fucking hell, that was just like ridiculous. The fact that they didn't have the guts to kill Gail off as well. Where was the consequences? But what was the? Who died in this film of any consequence? Nobody. Who was that? I don't want to. I don't want to use the word woke, but I Scream, in my opinion, it is a bit. Okay, I'll try. I'm trying to think of a different word, but what other word do you use? Yeah, like you say, the whole message. Mindy's monologue was anybody's at risk. Well, clearly they weren't. Nobody was at risk of any consequence in that movie. So, yeah. So Scream 7 next year. Chad and Mindy, if they return, they're not going to get killed. No fucking chance. They know there's not a chance they're going to kill them off. Like I say, this is not about. I have not got an issue with them surviving, but you make them the final boy and the final girl, and then you kill off Sam and Tara, or one of them. Simple as that. That's the way it's always been, and it's like I don't know. I don't get it. Because if you take Gail as your main character, along with Sam and Tara, they should be your three. But then you include Chad and Mindy, and then you got shirtless, good-looking guy. He survives as well. I mean, what the fuck? Like, it's just what? The stakes were low in this film. There was no stakes in this movie. But anyway, so yeah, I mean that's just my final thoughts on Scream 6. Is this falls somewhere between 5 and 3, or 4 and 3. It goes 1, 2, then either 4 or 5, or 5 then 4, then 6, then 3. It's not a good movie. It's for a Scream. I don't dislike. I certainly don't hate any of the Scream movies, but in terms of this is definitely towards the bottom. And some of the reviews for this film, I think IGN gave it 9 out of 10. I know IGN is a video game website, but 9 out of 10 for Scream 6 is what would you have given Scream 1? A fucking 15 out of 10? Where'd you go if you're given this a 9 out of 10? Where the fuck do you go with Schindler's List, for Christ's sake? I mean, what? Jaws? What are you gonna do? But bloody disgusting. Oh my god, bloody disgusting. This so this is the end of the Scream 6 discussion now. Let me just bring up. I'm going to carry on talking. I want to bring up Bloody Disgusting's review. This film. Because it's just mind blowing. So let me. So what do I go and present? Do I? No, I don't share screen, isn't it? That's the one. Share. So, are you all seeing this now? Are you all seeing that screen? Are you seeing the bloody disgusting screen now? Let me know. So, can you see that screen? You can, can't you? Okay. Can you? Somebody say, yeah, okay. So, yeah, so, okay, bloody disgusting. I'm just going to read this in their style. This is something. This really is. So, this is Bloody Disgusting's review of Scream 6. Last year's Scream delivered a recall that introduced a new generation of killers and survivors while celebrating Wes Craven and the franchise's legacy. Much like Scream 2, Scream 6 arrives a full year later and expands upon its characters and themes in thrilling ways as the surviving Woodsboro players relocate to college in NYC. With introductions now in the rearview, this slasher sequel lets a ruthless Ghostface loose in the city, slicing up an intense, flawless. Okay, so new tab. Flawless. Definition. Flawless. Definition of flawless. Without any imperfections or defects. Perfect. So, Bloody Disgusting are describing this movie as perfect. A perfect entry. Remember, you've seen this perfect movie. They're saying it's a perfect entry that continues the streak of insightful introspection while escalating the thrills, kills, humour, and heart to a breathless degree. Heart? I don't think so. It's only been a year since Sam Carpenter, Tara Carpenter, Mindy Meeks Martin, and Chad Meeks Martin survived their near-fatal encounter with Ghostface. Sam struggles with the lingering trauma and paranoia, not to mention a potential inherited madness, while the remaining Woodsboro survivors attempt to return to normality. That entails new faces joining their ranks. Mindy's girlfriend, Anika, Sam's roommate, Quinn, and Chad's pal, Ethan. Ghostface comes calling again, this time with an even crueler, mean streak. The group will need all the help they can get to survive this time and find allies that include NYPD Detective Bailey and Ghostface veteran Kirby Reed. Let's just jump that bit. Directors Matt Bertinelli, Olpen, and Tyler Garrett continued their streak of that perfect blend of suspenseful thrills and biting humour. Here, the filmmakers up the ante, delivering invented, edge-of-your-seat set pieces that showcase the urban setting and just how savage Ghostface is this time around. The kills are merciless and visceral. They've always been merciless and visceral. They've always looked. Nothing's really changed with the kills, to be fair. 4 was actually, I would argue, the 4 was bloodier than 6, although this is fairly bloody. But I think 4, was definitely bloodier. Dense arcs and themes aside, Olpen and Gillett ensure that you'll never want for entertainment. It's a bloody feast for the slasher fan. But why is it a good movie? Why is it flawless? What ties together the strong direction and intelligent writing of the characters, Scream 6 deepens the relationships and personalities established in the previous film, ensuring that each new and returning player gets at least one moment to shine. Most importantly, it provides extreme stakes. As we've realised, we've now grown deeply attached to each one. Olpen and Gillette stage brilliant slasher set pieces and draw out the perfect mix of intensity and horror, but the cast ensures we're invested. Not really. No, they didn't. In a sequel that makes it clear that safety is off the table, it's not. And boy, it is. It's not. Every encounter becomes harrowing because we're committed to their survival. Barrera's grow more confidence in Sam's skin, and the character's self-awareness provides the foundation for a satisfying arc. Ortega's expanded role here elicits a few crowd-pleasing cheers, not where I was, while Savoy Brown and Gooding endearingly round out the effective theme of found family in the face of Vince Simone's bloods. It's a review which doesn't go into any detail about what makes it a good movie. It's just, is this journalism in 2023? Really? Megan Navarro, bloody disgusting. Jeez, yeah, Megan Navarro. Yeah, my God, she's had some bad takes in the time. Jesus Christ. Scream 6 is Lena. What does that mean? What does Lena mean? Leaner. It's a longer film than the fucking first 4 or 5 films. Fuck's sake. It's not leaner. How could it be leaner when it's longer than the previous 5 movies? Meaner. What does that mean? They're just words now. They're just words. And more, it's like, well, tick box, checklist, meaner, leaner, exhilarating. Like, everything is meticulously thought out and well planned, from Easter eggs. There's a couple of Easter eggs, fair enough. I do like the Easter eggs that are placed in the movie. That's one of the plus points. To formally dormant franchise plot threads, the entire cast and crew are firing on all cylinders, resulting in a well-crafted, incredible thrill ride you want to visit again and again. It succeeds as 5 stars or 5 skulls. Well done, Megan. Well done. Your check is in the post from Paramount Pictures. Christ. Oh my God. That's embarrassing. That is an embarrassing review. Oh my God. Back to the comments. They did much better with me than with Chad, that's for sure. I think I actually got a bit of F-card for the book thing. That's somebody don't change. And I would say, oh, well, lol. The nonsense. I remember being genuinely shocked when they killed Rand this year. Yeah, I mean, that was probably arguably the best, because, broad daylight, middle of, college campus. Nobody saw that coming. They could have gone. I mean, okay, would have been. I probably would have criticised it for copying Scream 2 if they'd gone down the same route with this movie in Central Park. But I think that's what everyone was expecting. So maybe they did subvert expectations a little bit with that one by not having somebody killed. I don't technically like Gale. IGN assaults, yeah, IGN just, I'm bloody disgusting. Are the biggest shills of all. My God. This was worse than 5, but I watched this in a double bill, so maybe I was just cheesed off by that point. Jaws is a 1,000,000 out of 10, lol. Yeah, that's the standard. Okay. Is Scream 6 better than Jaws Revenge? Yeah, I mean, it's not that bad. Yeah, you can't take the reviews. Yeah, but the problem with reviews now from most websites is you don't really believe that most of these people who write reviews for these websites, they do it with a certain agenda in mind. It's very much, I think, a lot of the time this. They want to get hits. They want to get likes. They want to get that review out there into the wider sort of sphere, and they'll do whatever it takes to maybe to get get noticed. And I think a lot of the times as well, a lot of these websites, there's a political aspect to people's reviews. People are looking at it from not this one in particular, but a lot of the time it's very much they bring their politics into their writing even when it's something to do with pop culture. It's become more and more obvious now. So much so that most websites, I stay away from most websites now, any pop culture websites, because I just find them insufferable. I just think they're just so. I can't trust a word they say. I really can't. And the fact that it's usually very, very poorly written as well. I mean, that review told me nothing about the film. It told me absolutely nothing. It was just some buzzwords put together into a sentence with a 5-star review at the end. It was a nothing review. I'd be embarrassed to put that out. I really would. But it is what it is. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 6 is still the bottom. They're always closer to the truth than critic scores. Critic scores, it's just you look at Rotten Tomatoes, and the Rotten Tomatoes is just laughably bad. It's with Rotten Tomatoes, everything if you look at the critic score to the viewer score, it's so often it's just so way off because they just don't look at movies in the same way that the normal fans do. Diverse, Mike. Yeah, Lena. Yeah, Lena movie, 2 hours 10 minutes. Someone had a fear source when I wrote the review. 3.5 out of 5. It's 3.5 out of 5, but you know, I mean, it's 3.5 out of 5. It's, I mean, for me, Scream 1 is a 4.5 out of 5 for movie. Scream 2 is a 4 out of 5. Scream 4 and 5 are like they're a 3.5, but this for me is like it goes between 2.5 and 3. Same with Scream 3. Francis, I switched off a YouTube video yesterday because in the first minute or so, the reviewer admitted that Paramount had let him see the film 2 weeks early. Yeah, that's all you need to know. Scream 6 was at least better than Halloween Ends. Well, you know. To be fair, Manhattan looked less dilapidated than Haddonfield. You know, this is new Manhattan. This isn't like 80s Manhattan. So it looked a lot cleaner. Not like the cesspit that is Haddonfield in 2023. But yeah. Anyway, I think that more about wraps things up for tonight. You know, this was just I was going to go off onto a bit of a tangent regarding other things, but I think I'll save that for another day. This was meant to just literally be a breakdown of the Scream movie. Please, if you've not liked this video, will you please leave a like? If you're not subscribed, I'm sure everybody is subscribed anyway, but if you're not, please subscribe if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. For everyone who jumped in the chat tonight, I appreciate it. I know it's like it's Oscars night. A lot of people are streaming, and I didn't think I'd get this many people on board. So I do appreciate it. But yeah, for everyone who jumped on board, thank you very much. And I will see you in the next video. Good night.